So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
All right, everybody, welcome to Jackson with Jackson. What is this, number 7? I think it is number 7.
Something like that.
All right.
Time.
Okay, so first we have a super chat. We're going to read that out before we really get into it. And then I have a couple of people to thank, and then we're going to actually get into it. So first, Nathaniel Gray for $5 says, 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak. I made grog for tonight's show with the Mothra emoji, and we drink for Mothra emojis, so here's a quick drink. All right. So that's actually sounds pretty good. Grog is one of those drinks that gets kind of a bad reputation, and the sour is lime. Sweet is usually simple syrup or sugar. Strong is rum, and weak is water. And actually, if you think about that, you get an acid, you get sugar, you got your booze, and you got dilution. That's what makes a cocktail. Grog is a simple, uncomplicated, but tasty cocktail. And yeah, the worst thing that Abraham Lincoln ever did was get rid of the grog ration. Well, the rum ration, but it was used to consume grog. So, if for no other reason, he deserved it. Yeah, I'm saying it. Yeah, it's getting rid of the rum ration in the Navy. I can't even imagine how much better of a time I would have had in the Navy if every day.
We went a whole minute.
Seriously, if every day in the Navy I got like half a pint of rum, I would have had such a better time. It really would have helped. There's a reason that to this day sailors in port go in and get completely hammered. It's because being on a ship is horrible and no fun. And how much of a good time can you fit into like a day and a half on shore? Well, get super drunk. It certainly makes it feel like you had a whole lot more fun. Anyway, I have 2 people to thank. First, I want to thank Raymond, who does have a last name, but I'm not giving it because I was asked not to. Raymond got me 2 cups, the one of which I am using right now. I'm using the wine glass to drink some Chardonnay, and the cup has a little Klingon trifoil symbol, and across the top it says Niteb Kob Kad Jup Et Chao Bet Shuwit, which means a warrior never allows a friend to face danger alone. And on the bottom, it says Klingon mach Takjaj, which roughly is we must remain Klingon, and it was a phrase made famous in Star Trek Discovery. Of course, the Klingon is the best part of Star Trek Discovery. So thank you very much, Raymond. I also want to thank Nebulon, who is also one of my patrons, who recently got me a gift subscription to World Anvil at the Grandmaster level, which is hopefully going to allow me to do more the Spectral Evolution program or project more efficiently, because I will be able to give editor status to some of the people who have been helping me the most with it, so they can get stuff done on the World Anvil without me having to sit there and physically do all of it myself. It will also give me a higher number of maximum articles, a larger amount of storage space on their servers for my articles and images, as well as a higher maximum upload size for images. So all of that is really great, and it's a year-long subscription, so thank you very much, Nebula, and thank you very much, Raymond. You guys are really helping out. If you guys here want to help out, there is still an Amazon wish list, which is how I got the glasses. And, there's Patreon, and you can join the channel in the link below. You'll get all early access to all sorts of stuff. But anyway, that's enough commercial, and thank you. Jackson, how are you?
I'm doing.
All right. There you go. All right, so we're here to talk about Dr. Charles Jackson, Bad Jackson as we call him. He's been talking about bacterial resistance and how the evolution of bacterial resistance isn't evolution, even though it absolutely is. It meets all the definitions of evolution. Also, Jackson, you repositioned yourself off to the right, and now you're off center again. More.
Like this? You want me to sit like this?
No, more to the right.
Kind of slouching in my chair.
All right. Well, I positioned it based on where you initially were. We'll
it's
work
a big
on it later.
eggy chair.
All right. Which reminds me,
okay,
this is a drinking game, but we fully encourage you to play along with water or juice or other soft drinks, or to simply not play along at all, or to do whatever else you think is appropriate. And we also say, hey, drink responsibly, because we're not We're telling you up front, this can be dangerous if you actually drink it with booze. You know, don't operate any heavy machinery, don't drive any cars, and the Dapper Dino channel does not accept any liability or responsibility for any death, dismemberment, grievous bodily harm, or damage to property of yourself or others. That's all on you. Drink responsibly. But rules. We take a drink whenever Dr. Charles Jackson says something that's kind of so stupid that my brain is going to start melting if I don't. We also take a drink whenever he gets something right that he doesn't just quote from someone, which is always our least frequent cause for drinking. We'll also drink whenever Bad Jackson tells a joke that doesn't land. If Good Jackson tells a joke that doesn't land, it just doesn't land. That's fine. We'll also take a drink for any time Charles Jackson tells a story that we're pretty sure didn't happen, such as if he pretends that one of his shower arguments with himself is actually a real conversation he had with a different human being instead of, say, the shampoo bottle. We will also take a drink anytime Dr. Charles Jackson brings up anything to do with the National Socialist German Workers' Party or any prominent members thereof or anything that they were, getting up to in like the 30s and 40s. Take a drink for that because some reason creationists, they love that thing. Man, they love it. We'll also take a drink. There are a couple ways that you guys can all make us take a drink. You already saw one earlier with Nathaniel Gray, who sent a Mothra emoji. So if you send a Mothra, Godzilla, or a King Ghidorah emoji in a super chat, we will take a drink for that. Those are special channel super chats that you have to get by joining the channel. There's that. And then let's see. So that's if you want the official channel emojis, you have to join. But if you don't have those, you still want a super chat to make us drink, all you have to do is send something to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks. Because AIG loves to get rid of a monetization and copyright claim pretty much all my videos. Also, Jackson has disappeared, so I hope he's still here. Jackson, are you here? Can you hear me? I can't hear Jackson. Okay, Jackson. He's muted. Something's going on. We're just going to start. So when we last left off, Dr. Charles Jackson was telling us how... Who was it? Oh, TikTok for 100 Argentinian pesos says, in my country, there's a store that sells man-shaft-shaped ice cream. Oh, if you have enough money, you can ask them to send AIG right to your door. We'll take a drink for that one. Oh yes, it was Stephen Hawking. Dr. Charles Jackson has been telling us how Dr. Stephen Hawking has been getting mean about God, and he's gonna complain about how mean that scientist man is. So we're backtracking a little bit. That's mostly because where we stopped last time didn't really make a whole lot of sense, and it's been a while. So here we go.
But he said that because we know that the universe made itself and life made itself and we evolved, even if there is a God, it doesn't matter. Even if there is a God, it doesn't matter. He's irrelevant.
Well,
I mean, go ahead, Ever.
I was gonna say, it would be irrelevant to matters of science, which it remains either way, because the thing is, science isn't about, morality or your afterlife or whatever fundamental ontological grounding you might want to have for the universe or whatever. It's about the natural world, how it operates, and how it operated in the past, and what predictions we can make about it, about future data, and that's what science is. And quite frankly, all that the God hypothesis can do in science is make science impossible in areas where he's said to be a significant causal factor. So, yeah, it is irrelevant to science. Now, is it irrelevant to you as a personal matter of philosophy or faith? No, it's probably very relevant. And I think that if you had asked Stephen Hawking that back when he was alive, if you had said, hey, does the existence of God matter on an individual basis for people's, spiritual or psychological well-being or their, metaphysics? He probably would have said, yeah, to some people it does. I don't think he mattered much to him. He always struck me as a bit of a atheist. But, yeah, Jackson, what do you... Oh, I think Jackson froze.
Yeah. No, can you hear me?
Now I can. You froze for a little bit there, though.
if God is monkeying with the physics or the chemistry, then science is screwed, basically.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because like, what are you gonna do? Like, if someone can just come in and change the results to no longer correspond to the regular workings of the universe, then how could you possibly predict future data? You can't.
It's over. It's over, folks.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Jackson may be in and out of camera, so that we're just gonna deal with it, guys.
I'll just be off. It's fine.
Okay.
After all, we made ourselves.
No, I'm just gonna take a drink. Or we made ourselves, because that implies that you somehow pre-existed yourself and formed yourself through some process, which isn't what anyone thinks.
Nope.
I mean, I guess I can't say anyone. I'm
So
sure
I
there's
just
someone out there who says that, but like, yeah. Take a drink.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Bring this around full circle, brothers and sisters. This is the original lie of Satan. Look, I've been studying those Ezekiel.
The original lie of Satan is that you made yourself?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna
I don't
need a
think that's
citation
I don't
on
think
that
that's what
one.
he said, Dapper.
No? What do you think he said?
Wasn't it you like eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil?
Oh, you mean him as in Satan. I thought you meant him as in Dr. Charles Jackson, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I parsed Jackson there pretty well. Yeah, no, the first...
Oh, no.
Yeah, the first lie...
Yep.
Well, the first thing from Satan was that if you eat from the fruit of tree of knowledge of good and evil, that you'll be like God, and that you won't die. Now, the like God part apparently was not a lie. The you shall die thing, it's a little open to interpretation, because you can argue that in the text, God said that on the day that you eat of it, you will die, which didn't happen. So you could argue that that's a lie from God. You could also argue that God's trying to use the word day metaphorically, but apparently creationists don't like it when God uses the word day metaphorically. They're like, no, he can't. Not allowed. So, I mean, I don't know what the answer is there, but you could also argue that because they were prevented from getting the fruit of the tree of life, that they then did become mortal. And are we buffering?
You're not online anymore?
That's unfortunate. Give me a second, guys. I will type the chat. I blame YouTube.
Looks like we are buffering.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Well, we'll see how it goes. Some people are getting buffering, some aren't. I'm getting a strong connection to the YouTube server, so I'm blaming YouTube.
Things about Lucifer, son of the morning, who walked amidst the stones of fire.
I can hear us again.
Oh, great. You can hear me. You can hear us while you're not using headphones.
He was cast down, and because of his merchandising and his trade and all the stuff he could do, a fire began to burn in him, and then God burned it brighter, and it destroyed him and sent him to ashes.
Wait, are we talking about Satan? Because I don't remember that part of the Bible.
Sounds like God is distinctly the bad guy in that situation.
Also, apparently Satan is good at merchandising.
He was the original. He was like, hey, you want to buy a sundial?
Satan, the cereal. Satan, the flamethrower. Merchandising, where the real money from evil is made. Goodness. We'll see you next time for Bible 2, The Quest for More Money. Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm just gonna take a drink.
Oh, that's Mormonism. Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, they do get a lot of money out of those real estate deals.
That's true.
And now they own a whole bunch of different private businesses.
Yeah.
They own like a huge amount of the Coca-Cola stock. Like the actual Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns a huge portion of Coca-Cola as a company.
That's weird, but alright.
Yeah,
whatever floats their boat, I guess.
Really weird. But I'm just going to take a drink for like Satan, the original merchandiser.
Well, he was reading it from the same like extra biblical text that the angels and demons were writing dinosaurs fighting between like day 1 and 2 from the same book.
Also, I just want to point out that AIG, which he's associated with, has merch. So apparently that's of the devil there, Bad Jackson. So maybe you guys should delete your merch store. Just saying.
Wonder, he's like in a building. I wonder if this building that he's in has any merchandise. I wonder. Anyway.
It might. It
no,
might
lots
not.
of churches around here that have like T-shirts and stuff. So
yeah, that's the thing. Like there are churches that do have like merch that you can get. It's usually just a T-shirt or something. Now, speaking of which, I have merch you can get that I don't care whether or not it's satanic. It certainly doesn't have any overt satanic imagery.
You have horns. You literally have horns, Dapper.
True, I do literally have
Satan.
horns. Well, I don't know if I would go that far, but yeah, if you guys want to get some potentially, but maybe not satanic merch, there is a merch store linked in the description of this video.
No affiliation with the Church of Satanism or whatever, Temple of, whatever it is, I don't know.
Oh, I certainly don't have any affiliation with any institutional satanic organizations. This would only be satanic in the sense that Satan invented merchandising, apparently. So. Oh, and I am getting a choppy connection to YouTube. That's fun. YouTube, fix this stuff. Because the thing is, I've been testing my speed. My speed is fine.
His pride.
Hey, man, stop.
It sounds like you're doing okay.
Stop making me echo on my end, man.
I was checking my phone.
No, you gotta put it on silent.
I'm trying. No, I'm checking to make sure that you're not buffering anymore. That's what I was.
Yeah, but you gotta turn the volume down.
You know what? Oh shoot!
Otherwise it echoes.
Oops, sorry, demonetized. Oops, my bad.
Ooh, damn.
I will not poach Dapper Dinosaur or any affiliated person.
You converted man says, do you offer Satan the flamethrower? Look, I'll tell you what. If Teespring had a flamethrower, I would make a Satan the flamethrower version. Unfortunately, as far as I can tell, they do not offer flamethrowers.
I will be like the Most High. I will ascend to the throne of the Almighty. I will. He had the 5 I wills. I will be God.
And he will be the Most High. He must be traveling with Elton.
Or Willie.
Or Willie.
I forgot to say, by the way, sometimes some Godzilla noises might come through on my phone. That is a drink trigger. But yeah, anyway.
He infected our race with that sinful, irrational, against the rest of the nature of the universe dream of his.
Also, apparently, nematodes. It's also a thing he made.
Yeah, so...
Thanks, God.
At some point, we're going to have to go into like a full discussion of, so about parasites and the Ark.
Yeah.
Which of Noah's children or daughters-in-law had like heartworm? Or was that in the dogs? In both of them?
What about the parasitoids whose lifespan would have been shorter than the length of the Ark trip?
Yeah, was there guys? Like a... So, here's the thing. There not being an obvious creator is not the same thing as, one, individual organisms creating themselves, and two, the process of evolution isn't the process of, like, auto-creation of all organisms. That's not how it works. I know. Crazy, right? And yeah, so... Guys, the stream is... So, because I know that I'm staying online via other things, because I can still see chat coming through, and I can still hear Jackson coming through.
They say you're back.
My YouTube connection is bad on this one, and I don't have a way to fix it because it's on YouTube's end, and quite frankly, this is the second time in a row. I'm probably going to have to start emailing them. And they're like, we're not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Yeah, that's on your end there, YouTube. Thanks. Carrie Bronson, who's been a member for 14 months at the annual level, says, speaking of merch, what would it take for a stuffy Dapper Dinosaur to join the merch store? I'd love to sit on my shelf and I'd love one to sit on my shelf and silently judge me. So honestly, I haven't really looked into a plush. The problem is that generally speaking, plushes require a fairly large order in order to get made, and so the plush options that I'm aware of usually have like minimum order sizes of like 1,000, and I can't imagine a world in which I sell 1,000 plush Dapper Dinosaur toys in a reasonable amount of time, in any time in the foreseeable future. So basically, what it would take would be for me to have a whole lot more people who are here. Like basically, if we could get to the point where, these streams are frequently getting into the multiple hundreds of people and I have, 20, 30,000 subscribers and things like that, then yeah, that was actually a pretty realistic option. Until then, though, the chances of me getting 1,000 people to buy a plush Dapper Dinosaur are pretty low. So yeah, that's what it's going to take. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure that most of the people here would definitely buy Dapper Dino plushes, but that's 30, not like
Yeah.
not like 1,000. So we
Oh.
we got
Also,
a
Dapper-
couple orders of magnitude to make up there.
Somebody commented on the last video we did that the word is stuffy, not plushy.
I disagree.
Well, that's what the commenter said, so there you have it.
Okay, but also I want to point out that Kerry Bronson disagrees.
Oh.
Oh wait, no, he doesn't. He did say stuffy.
Oh,
Never mind. Look, there's more than one word in various dialects for the same thing in English. It's just how it works. By the way, do hit like, guys. Here we go.
Force or something like that, I mean, if you want to believe, and that's the root of humanism, that humans are God.
No. Oh my God.
I don't think that's what that is either.
I'm taking a drink. Humanism as a philosophy broadly, we're not going to get into all the weeds about humanism, says that the focus of human moral effort should be humanity and individual humans. That's it. It doesn't say that they're gods. Now, you could say that that's a value judgment, that they're the highest thing in the physical universe in terms of moral worth, which, yeah, I guess it does say that, but like that's a subjective thing that humans can decide about. And humanism says, if you want humanity to flourish to the maximum extent possible, you should make that particular choice about moral value. But that's...
I don't hold. Do you hold that? I don't know if I would say that is accurate. So I mean, I wouldn't say. I'm sorry. I wouldn't say that humans are like the most morally worthy beings in the universe, right?
Well, I go with this. If given the choice between killing a human and virtually any other organism, I would generally have a hard time picking anything other than the human, no matter what the other one is.
I don't know if it's a dog or a cat. I'm like, I'm gonna have to.
No,
I'm gonna have to weigh the scales that time.
I would kill a dog before I would kill you.
I don't know. It depends on the human, I guess.
Well, okay, I'm assuming a random representative of both species, where I don't actually know anything. Like, I suppose I could find humans
Fair enough.
who I would value lower than certain dogs. But, like, overall, all things being equal, unknown human versus unknown dog, the dog's gonna die if the gun's put to my head and I have to make that choice.
Give it a maybe. It's just me.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you what to value, but, like, yeah. All right, here we go.
We are the God thing. God's in all of us, Well, anyway.
I really don't think that's what humanists believe.
It's not. It's really not.
That we are God and God is inside all of us? Like, well, hold on. What kind of theology is that?
It's made up theology by him.
Like, yeah.
A little further than the quote there, but I wanted to see what Dr. Skell had to say. He goes on to say, we are still on the frontier of understanding what life is, how it manages to maintain its coherent stability to avoid evolving, its embryogenesis.
I don't know.
Excuse what?
How it managed to maintain its coherent stability to avoid evolving. There you go. I don't think it does.
Philip S. Skell. I don't remember if we looked this guy up before, but I'm gonna look him up right now because I don't remember this.
All right, we're gonna keep going on this while you look
He's
that
been
up.
dead for over a decade now, and he is a chemist, so who cares?
Yeah, weird. I'm glad that some chemist somewhere was like, nah, man, evolution not real, though. Like, okay.
He signed the Descent from Darwin. So,
yeah.
Whatever.
How organisms interact, what organisms make up the biocosm, etc. Regrettably, the history of the biocosm, which dominates talk, is largely lost in deep time. TOEs, which he calls theories of evolution.
I mean, it's not
technically
lost.
That's partially. Part of that is true. Like, a fair portion of deep time prehistory is lost because of erosion.
True.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
But, like, that doesn't mean we don't know anything about it. That's just factually inaccurate.
Yeah, there are also parts of it that are very well represented in like fossils and other rocks and whatnot. So it's patchy, is what it is.
Yes.
Rarely provide the heuristic, helping to discover, guidance on which new breakthrough discoveries depend. They are frequently and fervently pushed for their impact on domains other than science. And are at best...
I'm sorry, did you have...
I said no several times. He said that rarely provide the heuristic guidance on which... So we've discussed multiple transitional fossils that were predicted. There was a debate that Tony Reed did in which he went up against Finding Truth, who was wrongly named, about how evolution was used to determine that a particular parasite, like an antibiotic works on a relative of it, therefore this antibiotic would also work on this one. And they were separate enough that, like, under creationism, these things should not have common ancestry. And that was a thing that saved, was it Kelly Harding, I think was her name? Saved her life.
Yeah.
So, no. Also, what was it? The bacterial and viral experiments that were gain of function. So gain of function research is basically guided evolution, right? You have, or not even necessarily guided. You take some strains, just do a couple transfers, and they may develop mutations which are similar to, like living or wild viruses or bacteria or what have you. So no, it informs a lot, not just evolutionary biology. It informs microbiology, certainly like genetics, zoology, lots of different fields, medicine, agriculture, literally agriculture. There are the evolutionary pathway from C3 to C4 plants. Which, C4 plants often, though not always, do better than C3 plants in like more arid or variable environments. The pathway by which that trait evolves is so well worked out that researchers have actually been able to like evolve certain plants which were C3 to C4 plants.
Now these are different
weird
pathways for photosynthesis, right? Like biochemical.
Yes,
processes.
the different they're different intermediate metabolites, which is one is 3 carbon and one is 4 carbon.
I just want to make sure because I feel like there's a fair few people who probably don't know what those are.
Sorry.
It's okay. Look, I do that all the time too. All right, here we go. We're gonna hit play.
Employed post breakthrough to explain the discovery. I enjoy these speculations as stories, but particularly for biology, they do not serve as heuristic guides for the superb kinds of ongoing experimentation which is illuminating biology in this age. Those breakthroughs are usually based on far less ambitious paradigms, ones recognizable as modest working hypotheses, or MWH as he said.
So what, I doubt it, but what on earth is a modest working hypothesis?
Yeah, I'm just gonna...
How does it differ?
Drink for making up your own like bespoke useless acronym.
Yeah, this is like when irreducible complexity, or oh crap, what was the thing William Dembski came up with?
Specified complexity.
Specified complexity. Yeah, there's another one. Like it literally doesn't mean anything. Yeah. There's no mathematical model that supports it. There are no genetic models that support it. It doesn't mean anything.
At least irreducible complexity had a definition that you could say ahead of time certain systems met, but then it was immediately shown that such systems demonstrably evolved, and it was like, oh, well, I guess that whole hypothesis is dead in the water then. So then you retreat into the undefinable specified complexity.
Yeah, and Behe's still doing the whole... I mean, he came out with... Was it the Edge of Evolution in, like, what, 2019 or something? 2020? And
recently?
Yeah, I think it was pretty recent, maybe 2018. Regardless, it was in the past few years.
Well, 2020 is like the past year or so.
So
we're in 2020.
Even at this point,
I feel like next year might be 2021.
Yeah, maybe. Even still, can't actually define where evolution or where evolution like stops and where design starts, because as he discussed with Ernst and Cardinal, he'll pick a system, or he will, not Dan. He will pick a system that he just says, oh, it can't evolve, and then Dan was like, okay, well, here's the steps by which we pretty much know it evolved, like pretty much beyond a shadow of a doubt. We're fairly confident in this. And he said, okay, well, that doesn't really matter anyways. Here's this other thing. And
yeah, you're just
that's
playing
not really
whack-a-mole.
how hypotheses work.
Yeah, so that's happened with a lot of the irreducible complexity people, is they've retreated away from any kind of systematic argument, and they've just gone to biological whack-a-mole, where they'll just pick a particularly complex aspect of biology, preferably for them one that has not been well studied, and they'll say
definitely cell biology.
And they'll say this one couldn't have evolved. And quite frankly, although I do really like Sal Cordova, I see that as his tactic too. The only difference is he doesn't say the words irreducible complexity, but all of his arguments I can't distinguish from irreducible complexity arguments made by the likes of, say, like Otangelo Grasso, where it's just like, oh, well, maybe you can explain the evolution of the bacterial flagellum, but what about photosynthesis? And, well, maybe you can explain the evolution of photosynthesis, but what about? And then he just picks another thing, like opsin clusters. Like,
right. And nobody knows everything about biology. There's a lot in the field, which also overlaps with other fields, like biochemistry, which overlaps with chemistry, geology, paleontology, even like astronomy in some cases. But no one can know everything, right? And because you can't know everything, there's going to be, if I do a debate where I read up on the evolution of the eye, and I have this debate, and they're like, okay, well, sure, the eye isn't irreducibly complex. Okay, but, the endocrine system, which, by the way, Behe tried claiming the endocrine system was irreducibly complex, and got whooped at the Kitzmiller trial. He was like, they gave him like multiple textbooks that included sections on the evolution of the endocrine system.
Yeah.
And he just said it's not enough.
Well, that's one of the things, is it's never going to be enough, because it's not a real argument. It's just like we said, it's just a game of whack-a-mole, where the whole point of it is to always have something to fall back on that's relatively complicated, because eventually you're going to get to some place where the person you're talking to doesn't know what's going on there. Or, and that's ideally, you'll get to a place like where I said, where it's ill-studied, right? Because there's this thing called open questions in science. All fields of science have these. And they're a really convenient place for pseudoscientists to pack whatever nonsense they're selling. Like, so Deepak Chopra, why should we believe you? It's like, because it has to do with the interaction of quantum gravity. It's like, well, no one knows how that works, so you can't say I'm wrong. It's like, well, yeah, but I don't think that's a really good reason not to actually believe you there, Mr. Chopra. It's the same thing with irreducible complexity. It's like, eventually I will get to a system that either you or no one knows enough about to be able to give a reasonable account of the evolution of that system. Therefore, it couldn't have evolved. No, that's not how that works.
Fairness is not that hard. It's not that hard to... If you know enough about zoology or botany or microbiology or whatever...
Any kind of biology, really.
It's not that hard to eventually find something that's like, okay, nobody studied this. Maybe somebody mentioned it at one point, but no one's really studied it. And that's the thing, right? So, but at that point, if they know that much about biology and they're not just copying somebody else, then odds are they're probably not a creationist. So.
Yep. Actually, today I was looking up the stratigraphy and geomorphology of a island in the Gulf of Mexico, and until the late 80s, no one had ever done, as far as I could tell, any research onto like what rocks were there. So, but I don't think that would have given us reason in 1960 to say that island was a direct miracle caused by God, just because no one had bothered to figure out that it was mostly basalt conglomerates and tuff.
No, absolutely. It was made. God really he really wanted to have an island there for like so long. It was trillions of years, and finally he had his opportunity.
And he was like, you know what? Volcanoes, let's do it.
Yep.
All right, it may be.
It happened.
All right, here we go.
says. Now, evolution isn't guiding. Evolutionary thought isn't guiding us into new and wonderful.
I'm sorry, I said Gulf of Mexico. It was actually Gulf of California. But it doesn't really matter because you guys aren't going to see that video for weeks, so who cares?
Discoveries. It constipates scientific progress.
Ooh,
in every field
language.
Evolution has permeated, it has caused it to go stagnant.
I'm just going to take a drink.
Have you, there's this function on Google Scholar. I want everyone to try it if you haven't. Type in any animal or plant you can think of, and then next on the left side, click the current year, 2022, and look at how many papers there are about that thing that have been published just this year alone.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then check out last year and the year before that. You will quickly see that there are lots and lots and lots of papers being published all the time.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy how that works? If you subscribe to Nature or Science or PNAS or whatever, you get weekly papers. Almost as though science is not stagnating or something.
Yeah.
Biology especially.
We're going to need to see some kind of a citation as to any science involved with evolution stagnating, because it's really a difficult thing to claim if you're familiar at all with literature. In fact, right now, it's a popular saying, and it's roughly true in vertebrate paleontology, to say that as of starting maybe a bit less than a decade ago, the rate of dinosaur discoveries has increased very much so, to the point that now a new dinosaur genus is named pretty much weekly.
Yeah.
And so, if you want to keep, and that's not how many papers are published, it's more than that, right? Because many paleontology papers do not name a new genus. Instead, they describe fossils that are referred to an already established genus. Now, personally, I think too many genera of dinosaurs are being named because everyone wants to be able to name a genus of dinosaur. And so for that reason, I think some of them are actually just junior synonyms of other genera, but you know what? I'm a little bit of a lumper, so whatever, that's fine.
I can't stand it's kind of, it's fun to it's fun to talk about with speciation, but then other than that, it just gets annoying. Instantina ex Schultzi, Instantina ex Schultzi Claberi. It's just doing that. It's no, stop it.
Although I will say that all these new genera, at the very least, do tend to represent new species legitimately. So we're still getting new dinosaurs every week. Every week, roughly, there's a new dinosaur. And that's based on the fact that for the last few years, the average number of dinosaurs described per year has been hovering around the 50s. Carrie Bronson for $10 says, assuming, quote, evolutionism is a real philosophy, it is based on a process of constant iterative change, constant adaptation to circumstance, and an absence of true perfection. So, right, stagnation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true. Evolution is definitely based on not stagnation. In fact, even animals that we think of as quote-unquote living fossils, they evolve molecularly at a similar rate to other organisms with a similar reproductive pace. So, you can say, oh, sharks are living fossils. But if you look at sharks that are distantly related, they have about the amount of molecular evolution that we would expect, even though they're morphologically very conservative as a group. So,
all the extant limulids, the horseshoe crabs, all diverged in the Cretaceous. So they're pretty, even though there's only 4 species of them, they're pretty distantly related to each other. So,
and yet they're in the same family. It's almost like families are an arbitrary construct of humanity that doesn't have any actual reflection in real biology. Weird. All right.
Yep, crazy stuff.
We're gonna keep going.
If they would just drop the evolution thing, then we could get on with immunology in a scientific way.
Okay, I'm gonna take a big old drink.
Okay, there's a thing I feel has been in the news for the past 2 years now. Which keeps changing. It keeps having new variants or something. No, I'm losing my mind. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, we're starting to run low on new Greek letters, especially since they skipped over some. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? There are creationists who have degrees in all these things. The last time a breakthrough was made on the basis of rejecting evolution by a creationist is never.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a flat out fact, right? Every once in a while, people will point to things that creationists have done, like
the gene gun. Sanford was like on the team that invented the gene gun.
But he also wasn't an evolutionist at the time. It also
I thought you were saying the creationist who did stuff.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a creationist when he did that.
Wait, he wasn't evolution? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sanford's a latent life he did the latent life conversion to a conservative form of Christianity, and then later decided that his theology was more important. Yeah, the MRI dude. Dr. Demadian. He was a young Earth creationist when he invented, he didn't invent it on his own. While he participated in the invention of the MRI, his role is often exaggerated by other young Earth creationists who make it sound like he was the one guy who came up with it. He was part of a team. That being said, he still made a significant contribution, and at the very least, the MRI machine would not have been invented for quite a ways longer. However, the thing is, his work involved how living tissue reacts to magnetic fields, something that does not depend on evolution directly. So none of the creationist parts of his belief system mattered to this. There are no aspects of science where it matters to the science whether or not you believe in evolution, where creationists have made a breakthrough. They're not making breakthroughs in vaccine development. They're not making breakthroughs in paleontologists. Creationist paleontologists barely even exist, for that matter.
I would like.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, they're not making breakthroughs in like oil exploration. Nothing like that.
Yeah, that's actually a very fun story. Not only are they not making breakthroughs in oil discovery, they went out of business attempting to make oil discovery.
Well, they went bankrupt. They didn't technically go out of business. As far as I know, Zion Oil and Gas still exists, but they are now using conventional geology to find oil.
One of my favorite examples of a creationist who tried to use creationism to do science was this dude read Darwin's book on the fertilization of orchids. Obviously, that's not the full title. The full title is ridiculous.
Yeah, because 19th century books always had the longest of titles.
Yeah, but so he read Darwin's book, and in that book, Darwin says there's this big flower called Angræcum sesquipedale, and it's got a super long nectary, and there are no arthropods in its environment. He was like looking around. He's like, I don't see any arthropods, or I'm aware of any that we know of right now that pollinate this thing. And Darwin was like, I bet there is a hawk moth which pollinates it and has a super duper long tongue. And the 8th Duke of Argyll, who was a creationist, said, get out of here, there's no such thing. And Xanthopan morgani said hawk moth actually exist. So you tried. Certainly tried, and you failed.
Oh, and Sir Equinox says, remember what a big success Lysenko was in Soviet Russia? Yeah.
Oh, well, that was more of a resurgence of Lamarckism.
It was still anti-Darwinian.
Yes, it was. It was Lamarckism was definitely anti-Darwinian, and it killed lots of people.
When you embrace anti-Darwinianism, you end up... So I'm not going to go quite so far as to say it was murder, what Lysenko caused, because I don't think it was intentional. Murder has to be intentional. It probably counts as manslaughter, though. If you want to break a world record in manslaughter, become a guy who's in charge of the agricultural policy of a giant nation, or well, in this case, state. It wasn't really a nation. But and then reject Darwinism, and you too can break records for number of humans killed by government policy in history.
I honestly don't have a problem with him being called a murderer, because I mean he had access to correct data, including the dude he worked for, who he I believe had killed, who was like an early geneticist. So
my only reason for being iffy on the murder is I would have trouble saying that you could reasonably establish mens rea on that one.
I guess, but even that's just my humble little opinion. Anyway,
look, I'm not saying it's invalid. I'm just saying that the mens rea is going to be tricky on that one, in my opinion.
Sure. I mean, at least 20 million people? So
at a minimum. And the thing is, he was also, he caused the famine that resulted in the intentional murder of many Ukrainians in the Holodomor, because the famine occurred primarily in Russia, where his agricultural policies were being enforced, whereas they really weren't being enforced in Ukraine, which was a satellite, client state of the Soviet Union. So, the Russian direct policies from Moscow didn't always make it all the way to Ukraine. So when they ran out of food in Russia, the Soviet Union just literally stole all of the grain from the Ukraine, and people were starving in fertile fields that had just had bumper crops because all of the grain had been stolen and shipped to places like Moscow. Yeah. So, yeah.
Great stuff.
Rejecting evolution is a matter of life and death for real in science. It's not in your personal life, right? Like, if Bob down the street doesn't believe in evolution, like, whatever, he's probably not going to kill anyone. As a result of that, he might kill people for other reasons. I don't know Bob. He might be a crazy guy. But yeah, when it turns to actual science and government policy and things, yeah, people die when you reject evolution. From disease, from starvation. It's a bad time.
Especially if you follow this man's medical advice that we should treat every infection with broad-spectrum antibiotics.
Yeah.
This man is very, very bad at giving medical advice, and please, dear God, nobody in the audience ever follow this man's advice on medicine.
Yeah. It's...
Doesn't matter what else, just not that, please.
Yeah, it's... My goodness. I still can't believe that he just went there with, like, oh, we should treat all bacterial infections with broad-spectrum antibiotics. That'll get rid of the infection. Like, I mean, yeah, in the short term, probably will. But, some long-term effects that... I will say this. I have trouble imagining a situation in which rejection of the Big Bang will result in loss of life. So, I mean, there's that, right? So, at least he's not as dangerous when he says, drop the Big Bang. But also, the Big Bang has opened up many new frontiers of investigation into science, many new avenues of physics, things like that. We've discovered things like dark energy as a result of this.
CMBR?
Yep, CMBR was a prediction of the Big Bang model. Yeah, it is demonstrably not stagnating astronomy. And again, how many breakthroughs have been made by young Earth creationist astronomers rejecting the Big Bang in their work?
Anybody following Humphrey's white hole hypothesis? I don't think so.
So I'm going to now exhaustively list all of the scientific breakthroughs in astronomy resulting from rejecting the Big Bang by anyone. And that concludes the list. Let's continue on.
Then maybe we could actually study stars for what they are.
I mean, we do. That's
angels. Please say angels. Please, dear God, say angels.
And that their color, their size, their temperature, and their luminosities don't actually tell us how old they are by the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a drink.
What? I know virtually nothing about astronomy. I'm a biology guy, top to bottom, but what?
Yeah, okay. So here's the thing, right? We have models of stellar evolution, which is the life cycle of a star, right? And it's true, humans are never going to watch any single star go through the entire life cycle, right? Because humans don't live that long. However, it's sort of like redwood trees, right? So people might know about Hyperion, the tallest tree in the world. It's ridiculous. We're talking, this is like, I think it's around 100 meters tall. It's a ridiculously tall tree, even for a redwood. Okay, my hypothesis is that tree grew from a redwood seed, but I am never going to be able to live long enough to watch a redwood tree, or seed, turn into a giant Hyperion. But here's what I can do. I can watch all of the steps in between, and I can watch changes between stages in real time. Which means I can string it all together like frames in a movie and say, this is how growth of a redwood from a seed to a seedling to a sapling to a juvenile tree all the way to a giant like Hyperion, this is how it works. And by seeing all of those stages, I can have a reasonable assurance that I am correct about this. It's the same with stars. We can see the transition from stage to stage happening in real time in certain stars. And we can see every single stage in snapshot in various stars. So it is perfectly reasonable to conclude that this is, in fact, a system that works. And we have 999 from Jessica, who says, James Webb Space Telescope is about to open up a whole new world to astronomy and astrophysics. We're entering a golden age here. What's this about stagnation? And yeah, that's another good point, is we're currently hunting for planets using things like hypotheses about planetary formation, and we're looking for like distant galaxies and looking at our various hypotheses about the formation of galaxies, and we're looking at things like harmonic occurrences in galaxies on the basis of like ripples in space-time from the Big Bang, and saying, okay, if that's the case, here's what the structure of distant space-time should look like, and are we going to find that? Like, yeah, and Nathaniel Gray just Googled Hyperion. That is indeed a big-ass tree. It is enormous.
I want to point out, first, Paulogia made and to your point, Paulogia made a very good analogy, basically along the same lines. Like, imagine you're like a mayfly or something. You're only going to live like 2 weeks, right? If
you're lucky, because someone might squish you early for looking like a giant mosquito, even though you're not.
I know. No love for mayflies out here.
They look scary.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but
because you know enough about them. To random people, they look scary.
I guess that's fair, but yeah, anyway, you like imagine you're a mayfly, so you're only gonna live 2 weeks, and you're like passing through like a nascent neighborhood, right? And you see houses at different stages of development. You got a house it's not a house at this point; it's just like the foundation, and then you have the foundation plus walls, and then you have the foundation plus walls plus windows, and the foundation plus walls plus windows plus a roof. And it's like you'll never live long enough to see any one of these things become something else. But you can see every stage in there.
Yeah.
There's also there's a favorite creationist argument that sort of runs along those lines, and it's the Dr. Banjo. For every intermediate step you have more steps you need to fill in.
Yes. I love the Dr. Banjo clip.
And so, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't still have it on my computer, so.
For like every house or every star that you find, you have to find the next step in the series in either direction, and if you can't, then the whole thing falls apart, even if you have a reasonably decent picture of the whole thing.
Yeah, I've also compared it to someone taking like a puzzle, and like it's a 1,000-piece puzzle, and you've got like 85%, so you have like 800 or so pieces already, 850 or something already in there. And it looks like it's a picture of a horse in a field. Then someone comes by and says, but have you considered that it's actually Superman? And you're like, well, no, I hadn't. Because, like, look. It's like, but maybe you got it wrong. It's like, no, just go away. And that's kind of young Earth creationism.
No, just go away.
It's like, yeah, sure, I know that we haven't filled in every piece, but, like, man, this puzzle is not that ambiguous that you could be right about Superman in this puzzle that is clearly of a horse. Although I also recently found out that people building very large, completely monochrome puzzles is a thing. And I can't imagine hating myself enough to do like a 1,000.
Yeah.
It's often higher or lower by around 10 or so. Like up to 10. But anyway, here we go.
And the theory of stellar evolution. I'm going to rant a little bit more. I have them telling me, Dr. Jackson, you can't get mad at us because no one's ever seen a star flicker to life. Stars are being born all the time, and all those nebula, the Trifid Nebula, the Star Nursery, the Eagle Nebula, where life began. And
wait, whoever said that life began in the Eagle Nebula?
I've never even heard of that before.
Well, I think this is a made-up story, and I'm going to take a drink for stories that Dr. Charles Jackson here just made up.
Have you seen the meme of when I'm arguing with my shampoo bottles and I win, and it's like the WWE announcers, clapping. And they're all it's the WWE announcer. They're all like, yeah. That's what happened when he said that.
Yeah, all the shampoo bottles were very enthusiastic about his obvious win.
And everybody clapped.
Goodness. Oh, man.
Yep. Oh, boy.
Actually, it reminds me, I took a quick nap before the show, and then when I woke up, I was about to go take a shower and think, wait, did I just skip yesterday's Jackson with Jackson? At which point I realized, no, it was the afternoon and not the early morning of the next day.
Oh.
Yeah, I came very close to just going through my morning routine at like 3 p.m.
All these things are really happening. I said, well, no, we see stars explode and die, but we've never seen one form itself in a gas cloud.
From start to finish, no. But we have seen things like T-Tauri stars, which match our predictions for not quite actually engaging in full-on, fusion, like a star forming in regions that are predicted to be the kind of place where stars form. We can also see gas clouds that look like they're undergoing gravitational collapse, which again, every single stage. And we can even see some of these stars get brighter and get more close to like the actual predicted black body spectrum for a star that just initiated fusion. Like, these are things we observe, and sure, none of them are a diffuse gas cloud collapsing into a star which initiates fusion in the span of a human lifetime. But as it was pointed out in the chat from Gupdu3, who said, one of my favorite quotes on this subject is Professor Dave, sorry, cosmology doesn't operate on a timescale that's convenient for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's like, I'm sorry that compared to the life of the universe, you were but a day lifespan mayfly who will come and go, experiencing essentially no change in the world around you. That's just how it is.
Listen, well, Dr. Jackson, that's because it takes millions of years for a star to gradually, brown in and then red up and fire up. And I said to him, you should know better than that. That's a chain reaction, a nuclear fusion chain reaction. It's a nuclear bomb.
What is he talking about?
He's saying a star is a nuclear bomb?
I don't know, but I can't comprehend it, so I'm taking a drink to see if maybe getting slightly more drunk is going to make it work.
I don't... Is he say... Is his thinking that, like, when the nebula collapses, it just explodes? Like a nuclear bomb? Is that... Well, I mean, I guess they do say what banged the Big Bang, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised, so,
Yeah. Oh, Cool Jesus has asked if I'm watching Prehistoric Planet today. I'm probably not watching it today, guys. I'm probably going to wait until I take a day off, which will be Sunday, probably. I might watch a little bit of it Saturday, because Saturdays are like... Basically, I take Sundays and Mondays off. And so Saturdays are kind of like my Friday, so I might start watching it Friday afternoon. So, yeah.
There should not be a star there one night, and at the very same location the next night...
No, there shouldn't. We're taking a drink because...
Do you think stars are electricity?
I don't know. But here's the thing, right? Gravitational collapse on its own causes an increase of heat because as that gravitational potential energy is first transferred into kinetic energy with the collapse, once it actually reaches a center point, that kinetic energy is then converted into thermal energy. So things that undergo gravitational collapse increase in temperature in proportion to the amount of gravitational potential energy that was available in the system before the collapse. Which means that just based...
like evolution.
Yeah. Which means that just based on black body radiation, stars that are on their way to becoming fusion engines are going to be bright in various spectra, especially infrared, before they actually start fusion. And guess what's one of the prominent wavelengths that we look for stellar nurseries in, Jackson?
What is it? Is it infrared?
It
infrared?
is infrared. Weird, right?
Oh.
Man, who'd have thought?
Crazy.
Oh, it's... Look, this is just one of those things where, like...
evolution assertions right there. That's what that sounds like.
This is one of those things where, like, look, if you want to criticize this, you need to start out knowing the basics of the field that you're going to criticize. But anyway, we're going to take a quick intermission. I'm going to refill this wine glass. Jackson can refill his apple juice because Jackson is 5.
Yes. And what do you want from me?
No, I have no shade on apple juice.
Yes, have you ever seen a 5-year-old talk about evolutionary biology? Because I have not.
I mean, my nephew's pretty smart. He's talked about birds and dinosaurs and evolution before.
I knew about dinosaurs, and I was like, these things live in particular time periods. I don't know why that is. I did not find out about evolution until middle school. This is Louisiana, so thank you.
My nephew has talked about the evolution of birds from dinosaurs. He was, I guess, 6, so maybe not 5, but pretty close. So, anyway, here is an intermission. Well, although we don't have a citation for it, we are in fact back. I say because I forgot to turn off the citation needed video. Yay for producing. Like I said, help the channel grow, and eventually I might be able to hire a producer. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Peter might do it if you ask him.
I mean, I might, but I feel like he's already got a lot on his plate.
He does have a lot on his plate. That's why I ask him like 2 weeks in advance for stuff. So,
plus, I would feel bad not paying for that much work.
Gotcha.
All right, there you go.
A nuclear chain reaction should occur. Fusion should spread throughout the mass of this giant gas.
Nope, fusion only occurs in the core of main sequence stars, so I'll take a drink for not knowing how stars work in the most basic aspects.
Cloud within hours at least.
You got numbers on that there, Bad Jackson? Do you have any calculations? Is your PhD in education the thing that's informing you about the complexities of stellar formation. Oh, hey, drink from Mothra.
He said my citation is "Trust me, bro."
I mean, it does seem like that's his citation. Yeah, honestly. Whatever, man. Sure.
I love when I make up random numbers to describe natural phenomena. It's my favorite thing to do.
Oh, man.
At the slowest, it's a nuclear chain reaction.
Yeah. And
it doesn't take years.
It absolutely can. Okay, so here's the thing about fission, right? he's by virtue of Tim talking about the nuclear bomb, right? He's clearly conflating the way that you can induce fission with the way fusion works. Now, the thing about fission is that when you have induced fission, or even spontaneous fission, neutrons are released. Now, some isotopes, like certain isotopes of plutonium and uranium, can then absorb neutrons and themselves have induced fission, which releases more neutrons. Now, if you configure these atoms in the right way, you can make it so that the number of fissions created by the neutrons of any given fission event, on average, are more than one. This causes a cascading chain reaction, in which power just keeps going up. That's basically how a nuclear bomb works, right? You make sure that... Yeah, actually. You make sure that the number of fissions induced by any given fission is as high as possible. Somewhere around, like, 3 or 4, I believe. Well, I would have to double-check on that.
That sounds like what an evolutionist would say.
Maybe. But here's the thing, right? Fusion is a result of pressure and temperature being very high. Fusing 2 hydrogens into a helium doesn't directly cause other fusion events. So if you're just the period where fusion is just barely possible, you're going to get some fusion of hydrogen into helium. And maybe some fusion of, helium and hydrogen into lithium. That's number 3, right? I think it is. Doesn't matter.
It is.
Okay, there we go. I'm bad at chemistry, guys. I'm really bad at chemistry.
I remember like 5 things about chemistry, and that's one of them.
One of them is lithium is atomic number 3. All right.
Yes.
I mean, it's a good thing to remember. So it's not a chain reaction in the same sense as fission in a nuclear bomb. Fusion does not directly result in more fusion in and of itself. Goop23 for $2 says, he says nuclear the same way Kent Hovind says water. I'll have to listen for that. Nuclear.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure that you aspirate that unvoiced stop for no reason. Very strongly aspirated. I wonder if as a result, Kent Hovind could reasonably learn a language with an aspirated, unaspirated phonemic distinction between stops, like Korean. And I just realized I lost like most of my audience by saying that.
And me.
Sorry, guys. Look, it doesn't come up on the channel much, but I really like linguistics too.
That's true. He does. Can confirm.
Yeah. Actually, in my script today, I was talking about the fact that I had to read a paper in Spanish. And I was like, Spanish can barely be called my 4th language. And I realized that that's kind of a humble brag.
That's true. I think I've talked about linguistics like in one video. That was the Ergas tale. That's like the only one I've discussed language ever, I think.
My channel member and patron Discord server has a conlang section in the text channels. It gets very little use, though. But if you do want conlang, constructed language, for people who are working on constructing their own language for fun or for fiction or for international auxiliary language purposes. So, yeah, if you want to pick my brain about that, that's where you go. Anyway, here we go.
It takes minutes for a star to be born, if that could happen.
No,
there's so many reasons.
Just take a drink.
Chemistry 101, why? It just Boyle's law.
Holy crap. Stars do not engage in chemistry. Boyle's law is physics. Nuclear processes are specifically not chemistry. Chemistry is what happens when electrons associated with atoms and ions start swapping places and connecting to, being shared between orbitals and things like that. That's chemistry. This is nuclear physics, and Boyle's law is classical physics, and it's the ideal gas law. Now, Jackson, would you care to guess how many gases in the real world are actually ideal gases, where the particles have 0 size and there are no significant interactions between the particles in the same fluid?
Is it less than 1?
Yes, it is in fact less than one gas is an ideal gas. It is 0 gases. Also, stars aren't made of gas. They're made of plasma, which is the most common phase of matter in the universe. Everything he's saying is completely wrong in almost every way it possibly could be. And I'm just taking another drink because honestly, it's kind of pissing me off. And
Zapper, no.
this is supposed to be...
You just need to take Chem 101. That's it. That's what you need to do.
And also, this is... I'm going to remind everyone, the title of the video we're responding to is Bacteria Are Not Evolving Resistance to Antibiotics. And for some reason, we're talking about stellar chemistry, which again, chemical reactions are not happening in the core of a star.
As the one of the two of us who took chemistry more recently, I can confidently say I did not learn about stellar nucleosynthesis in Chem 101.
Yeah, there's a good reason for that.
It did not come up in our stereochemistry reactions.
Honestly, this is actually starting to annoy me because, like, dude, you don't know the first thing about this, and it's not the topic of your discussion. You could opt to just not be stupid about astronomy, but nope. Nope, not an option in Dr. Charles Jackson's world. You gotta be stupid about astronomy for literally no reason.
So we're braving ahead.
Oh my goodness, this is so dumb. Everyone, go watch PBS Space Time. You'll learn a lot about this stuff. It's really fascinating, and Bano Dowd is much better than I am at any of it. Also, if you pay enough attention, you might be able to learn my real name.
Messes with it. Robert Boyle, a God-fearing man.
Which, by the way, my real name isn't actually a secret. I don't actually care that much if people know it. I just don't use it.
Oh yeah, Dapper, for a second, I was like, dang, I wish I knew his... Hold on a second. Like, yeah, I do.
You do know my real... So here's the thing about my real name. The reason I don't use it in association with this channel is because it's a secret. It's because I don't want the channel to be about me as a person. Like, sure, I'm the face or the voice, I guess, of the channel. But, like, me as a person doesn't matter. All that really matters is, like, the actual science that I'm trying to relate. So it's literally just an attempt to de-emphasize me as a person.
I have you as your name in my phone, and that's why I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, man, I wish I got to... Hold on a second.
I have your YouTube name in my phone for you.
I mean, it's... You know, it's not that different, so...
So you say. Also, Erechamion for $20 says, I see gold on the visitors and velvet robes. I fancy those rings. I'd rather be crippled than tell a lie. I recognize you, my king. You have come. Olaf then replied, the visitor who was close... Oh, sorry. I think he means then replied to the visitor who was closest. AIG are... We'll see. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I'm pretty sure I know what that word means, even though I don't have any reason to, and take a drink. I also don't know where that quote is from. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a take a drink for AIG or a bunch of dicks. And thank you very much for the super chat, Erechamian. It really means a lot. Like I said, like I've always said, guys, every bit adds up, and I've only just recently got to the point where the channel is more or less self-sustaining most months. So thank you very much. All right, here we go.
Anyway, we'll get to the next one. Okay, do germs evolve? No.
Because he said Robert Boyle is a God-fearing man? Was that a joke?
Well, it landed, but I think it was. That's weird.
I didn't think it was a... I thought it was just a flex. I didn't think it was a joke.
Yeah. Also...
I don't get it.
Here's the thing. Boyle's gas law has nothing to do with any of this. But yeah. Olaf Saga, Helga Volsi is an interesting object of worship. Oh, okay. I think I know where we're going with it. That in terms of objects of worship.
Oh, they're either already immune and survive, they transfer their plasmids, or it could be the loss of a target feature. And
all of which is evolution. And it's nice that
like he... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, nice transition, by the way. Like, and Boyle's gas law prevents stars from forming. Now about bacterial resistance to antibiotics.
Yeah, he also said nothing about... I don't know, I guess this could technically fall under... Loss of target feature does not necessarily mean a protein or polysaccharide or whatever.
It could just mean like a change in like an ion channel shape.
Exactly. If you change, like, say the substrate, the site of substrate site where the active site. Good lord! If you change the active site for the enzyme, but it still does its job, it just can't, beta lactams don't fit in it anymore. Well, I guess you've lost the target feature, but you still retain the enzyme. So, is that a loss?
I would say no, but the thing is, if you just define all mutations as a loss just by fiat,
Right.
which they do. By the way, for $2, Nathaniel Gray says AIG are a bagu no chimpoko. I'll take a drink. That one.
I just he also didn't mention things like he says mutation. He just assumes, or I guess the audience assumes that it's like always loss. You know, that's just not the case.
No, it's not.
Like he never mentioned, because this whole thing is about antibiotics, but he does not mention instances where like an enzyme its function is amplified, so it's getting out the antibiotic faster than it can get in and disrupt bacterium, which again is a thing that we know happens because we do it a lot. Like we evolve it in bacteria a lot, and we witness it evolving a lot. So
yeah. Also, I want to say that the already immune thing, all that means is that because mutations have already occurred that can result in antibiotic resistance, that it wasn't evolution in the first place. But like, no, we know that organisms don't evolve or don't mutate in response to or they don't get particular mutations in response to environmental factors in a way that would mean that they get mutations that help because of the environment. Instead, what actually happens is there are pre-existing mutations, some of which happen to be adaptive for a particular environment and are then selected for. But they still occurred. Also, Fade to Gray has just joined the channel at the level of Tetrapod, so everyone who's a channel member, send some Tetrapod emojis to welcome Fade to Gray. Fade to Gray, if you go to my channel community tab, you will find a link to the Discord server for channel members and patrons. Tonight, we're going to be watching some Power Rangers after this, because we always do a Power Rangers watch party after this while I finish off whatever booze I bought for the night. And right now, I think there's currently a tie between Dino Fury and Mighty Morphin for which season we're going to watch. Either way, you'll be jumping into the middle of it, so whatever. But then again, it's Power Rangers. It's not like it has the most complex of plots. Although, to be fair, there were some seasons that had some really good character development and characterization, like RPM or In Space and or Time Force. So, you know, it varies. Actually, I just started watching Time Force on YouTube because the official YouTube channel is posting, and I'd honestly forgot how much I like that season. It's a really good season of TV. So anyway, here we go.
And this, as I mentioned, is a downward variation, not upward.
Evolution doesn't have down or up. It just has adaptation or failure to adapt, therefore extinction. Evolution doesn't care what you think of what evolves, right? That's why some people are like, oh, look, these organisms are getting smaller or weaker or dumber. That's not evolution. It's like, yes, it is. Because evolution doesn't have as its goal big, strong, smart things. It doesn't have a goal at all. So, yeah.
Orthogenesis for the loss.
Seriously. But even orthogenesis wasn't evolving to become the Superman animal. The whole point of orthogenesis was often like things get into some kind of rut in terms of evolution and it drives them to extinction because they decided to evolve like horns that were so big they couldn't support their heads or something stupid like that.
Right.
So like even orthogenesis, it's still not what he thinks evolution is supposed to be. Like, okay, look, for any creationists who are watching this, and I know that some do, here's a tip. Do not criticize what you think evolution is if what you think evolution is isn't something that proponents of evolution would not agree is what they are proponents of, right? And the thing is, I just earlier this week, or I guess technically it was last week, whatever, within a week, I had a 5-hour conversation with Cindy Lincoln where, for most of it, I was just trying to convince her that, yes, people who accept evolution do believe the thing that I'm describing to you, even if it doesn't make sense to you right now. You got to start from a standpoint where they do believe, where you think that your intellectual opponents in this discussion actually believe the things that they say. And I know you don't think it makes sense, but that's just still how it is. And you can't strawman them by going with what you think makes sense if they say that's not what I believe. And that mostly came down to her not really getting monophyly as a concept. Which means there's a fair chance that monophyly is going to be a subject for a future video, and I might even ask Jackson to help out with that.
How does she not get monophyly as a concept?
I don't know. I don't want to get too far into that. We'll talk about that later.
Okay, that's fine. Anyway.
Like evolution needs. This is loss of information, not gain. It's the opposite of evolution.
Nope, because you've never defined information, nor have you ever managed to give a quantifiable way to measure it. So you can't say that there's a loss if you can't tell me how much there is.
So, like, I was actually looking it up today because I did a little thread on common creationist misconceptions. And the definition of, like, information broadly is just structured data. Mm-hmm. If you say DNA is just structured data, then any mutation is a gain of information.
Even a deletion?
Isn't it? Because you're changing, at the very least, it's a change, right, in information.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a loss. So I would say deletions
could
reasonably be argued to be losses, but yeah, anything else is either an addition or at least neutral in terms of amount of information in any given genome. And if you're looking at the genome of an entire population, even deletions are actually additions of information because now you have a distinct genome that you get to add to the number of distinct individual genomes in the whole population. So
it could be beneficial.
Yeah, also, there are plenty of beneficial deletions occur. Think about this. A deletion could occur and change a sequence that was non-coding into an actual protein because it deletes something and it leaves behind a start codon, then down the chain, just by coincidence, is a stop codon. Now you have a new protein that can start evolving. That's, the kind of thing that gets you orphan genes.
Off the top of my head, the only deletion I can think of, which I would consider beneficial, was there are these fish called snailfish, Pseudoliparis, and they live like way, way deep in the ocean. Well, they had a deletion mutation involved in bone ossification. The genes involved in, or one of the genes involved in bone ossification. If you're a really deep sea fish, you don't need your bones to be fully ossified.
So they have lower calcium requirements now. Neato.
So almost like that was beneficial for them to live in that environment.
Sometimes I wish I didn't have fully ossified bones, because then I could squeeze through tighter spaces if I Saying.
Like trying to reach under the couch or something like that.
Yeah. Or like, you never know when you're going to need to go like, all John McClane and crawl through some ventilation spaces. Because, guys, spoiler alerts, IRL, most ventilation ducts do not support an entire full-grown man. That is...
Or Jurassic Park.
That's not what they're designed for.
Did that in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that happens in a lot of movies where it's just like, oh yeah, this ventilation duct is totally big enough to fit an entire adult human. And it's like, no, very few ventilation ducts are that big. All right. Oh, and hey, Brainbug, and hey, don't worry about being late. Unfortunately, though, we're not talking about bugs, so unless you count bacteria as bugs, because people do call them that, but whatever. They're not arthropods, which is what I know your focus is.
Bugs are hemipterans, and I will accept nothing else.
Just the true bugs.
Yes, I will. Cicada is the only bug. No.
All right, here we go.
Cicadas and aphids and toe biters and a couple others. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Do you have full metamorphosis in your life, in your ontological sequence? No, get out of here. You're not a bug. You say that as like Brainbug has on her profile picture. I don't think any bugs by that definition.
It's a moth or a butterfly, isn't it?
I think so. I think it's a hymenopteron. Anyway. Brainbug, let us know what's in your profile picture so we can be sure and stop getting it wrong by guessing at the tiny little pixels that YouTube displays for us.
Devolution. These are the only three ways that bacteria that's right, I'm a Mensa genius, and these are the only three ways.
I'm just going to take a drink for a joke about being a Mensa guy that didn't land, because fun fact about Mensa,
I don't know.
You don't have to be
right
about
anything. I thought that was
anything.
pretty funny.
Mm.
I thought it was pretty funny that he put up 4 fingers while saying he's a Mensa genius. That was a little funny. I'll give him that one.
I'm still going to take a drink, mostly because it's like 82 Fahrenheit in here. I'm hot. I'm taking a drink.
It was a dumb joke, but it was a slight funny. Anyway.
Fair enough.
No, he's lying.
I appreciate the self-deprecation, though. But yeah. And also, in his thing, he ignores the way that bacteria get the immunity in the first place. Like, how is it that some of them already had resistance to this antibiotics there, Charles Jackson. Where did that variation come from in a essentially asexual species that reproduces primarily through cloning? Oh, was it perhaps mutation? Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has to realize, like, if anybody ever talks to him, because like Dan had him on not too long ago, but if anybody ever talks to Charles Jackson about this very topic, it's like, bruh, you have two options. Either God created all variations in bacteria at the beginning, mutations happen, and they can develop new sequences. Those are your only two options. Like, so either he since mutation cannot create new sequences according to him, that only leaves the other option, which is that they were already there, which is not tenable.
The insect in Brain Bug's profile picture is a yellow jacket. That's not a that's a hymenopteron, but still, I mean, an insect that is not a bug according to your definition there, Jackson. So I think you and Brain Bug need to have a duel, settle whether or not she can use the word bug with that profile picture.
Look, I'll give up.
Time. Oh, okay, there you go.
Give up already.
Jackson concedes to Brain Bug. All right, here we go.
Only 3 ways that bacteria have ever been observed to exhibit an immunity to a drug we've invented. Every graduate level textbook on immunology will only give.
You don't like what?
I like the hand motion he just did.
Oh, sorry.
These 3 ways. The rest is rumors.
Rumors? What?
Jackson, my cousin's friend's sister says that evolution occurs.
I believe her. I would lay down my life for this claim. I mean, I'm sure we've talked about the Richard Linsky E. coli experiment at some point, where that happened. Like 2 mutations happened. It was just one. It was a duplication. Well, I guess it was a duplication, like and a transposition, because they're end to end. But that's a mutation, which did not cause a loss of anything. It in fact caused a gain. Although, interestingly, I was actually reading a paper about contingency and evolution, and that phenotype only arose because like pretty much all of the other really high fitness mutations had already swept through the population. On its own, it could not outcompete most of the other fitness mutations, which I thought was interesting, or a lot of the other official fitness mutations. So I thought that was interesting. Anyway, caught him.
All right.
We got him, folks.
Here we go.
Legends and urban myths.
I'm just going to take a drink for legends and urban myths about bacterial evolution, and then I'm going to describe what those 2 things are, and yeah. Okay, so what's a legend? Legends are stories which primarily star humans as the main character, but can include things like gods or other supernatural entities as big actors. And they tend to explain the current situation in terms of how things historically came to be the way they are, as well as simply traditional stories about cultural heroes. So, for instance, there's a legend about George Washington and the cherry tree. There's also a legend about George Washington crossing the Potomac. One of these has a whole lot more historical truth than the other, but they're still basically legendary because both of them help describe the way that the United States came to be the way it is in a historical context. Other legends include things like the Trials of Hercules or the Odyssey and things like that, right? It's distinguished from myths, which primarily star things like the gods as the main characters, and humans are relatively minor and usually only occur as catalysts for the actions of the gods, who are the main focus of these stories. Urban legends, or urban myths, on the other hand, are folk tales that are reported usually as something true, even though there's usually very little to back that up, and that spread in urban areas, or places with cities. And they tend to be about things that are, they tend to be cautionary in nature, like, oh, hey, you know, like the guy with the hook that escapes from asylum is an urban myth. urban myth or urban legend, right? And it's supposed to be cautionary, like, hey, don't just go get distracted at make-out point with your girlfriend, and then suddenly the murderer comes. You got to stay alert, or maybe find safer places, or just don't do naughty things in the car. Now, look, am I going to sit here and pass judgment on you going to make-out point? No, I don't care. But that's like the idea behind it, right? They're usually cautionary, and there's usually some kind of danger that happens, but sometimes not, right? Sometimes they're just weird stories that occur, like, oh, hey, that big abandoned house is haunted. What bad things happen as a result of this? Well, nothing. But like maybe your friends dare you to spend 20 minutes inside the house at night. Whatever. Right? Those are urban myths. I am unaware of any legends or urban myths regarding bacterial resistance to antibiotics. Like none. And the thing is, it's very clear what he's doing is he's just picking different like genres that typically are seen as not literally true and associating it with science that he doesn't like. It's just a really crappy poisoning the well rhetorical device. That's all it is. And it kind of bugs me, right? Because look, there's no need to poison the well here. And I get it. You can accuse me to some extent of poisoning the well when it comes to creationism by accurately reporting the level of plausibility that scientists generally accord the idea. Technically, I don't have to do that. So I can see why perhaps you could accuse me of doing the same thing on occasion. But there just really is no reason to do it now, especially since the science is so well supported. But
I'm talking about the hard science and what is actually known. And when they start talking about evolving resistance through some new gene that gets written,
the one that has to exist because you know that there are pre-existing mutations, because your 3 mechanisms include things that require the pre-existence of these things, and we know that bacteria are so numerous that they're mutation saturated, as we talked about in previous episodes, which means that basically they sample the entire landscape of possible mutations every generation, because there's so many of them. Because every mutation has a finite chance of existing in any new reproductive event. And there are so many reproductive events that the chances of any given mutation occurring somewhere in the population approaches 1 or 100%. So, yeah.
Yes.
it's just a, if you believe in fairies, then clap your hands. Tinker Bell will get well if you clap your hands.
Yeah, I'm taking a drink.
That's all it is. It's hope. Desperate hope.
Hope based on rigorous mathematical models.
Oh, no, not allowed.
Oh, man.
That they haven't wasted their lives teaching for 30, 40, 50 years at a college.
Someone better tell the immunologists that, because I'm sure they would love to know.
Yeah, all those immunologists that are busy developing new antibiotics or bacteriophage therapies or vaccines, someone ought to tell them they're wasting their lives saving the millions of people that they save every year. So Carrie Bronson asks, by your definition, would you consider the tale of Remus and Romulus to be legend, myth, or some combination thereof? It's primarily legend. So, for those of you who don't know, Remus and Romulus were the legendary founders of Rome. They were abandoned, essentially, to exposure by their parents, according to the legend. They were adopted by a she-wolf who suckled them, and then later on, they built a city. One of them killed the other one, and then that city became the Rome as we know it. And that was followed up by other legendary actions, like the kidnapping of the Sabine women, or Sabine women, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and other such legendary things. The reason it's primarily legendary is because while there is some idea that like the gods protected or blessed their endeavors, the gods are not the primary actors in any of the stories about Remus and Romulus. They're sort of background characters. And look, legend and myth are not hard categories, right? There can be stories that are sort of like straddling the line. So, for instance, like the story about Arachne, who said that she was more beautiful than, I think, Aphrodite, and who was then cursed by being turned into the first spider. Well, I mean, there's two main characters there. There's Aphrodite and there's Arachne. And so, is it a legend or a myth? It's kind of both.
I think that Arachne is still beautiful, as evidenced by the fact that I have a arachnid in my room, or who is here. I am letting him stay. That is my tailless whip scorpion.
Ooh, that's really cool. You have an Amblepigid?
I do have an Amblepigid.
Those are really cool. And also, they get a bad rap by being used as the most deadliest ever spider in the Harry Potter movies, which is stupid because they're completely harmless to humans. They're very harmful to crickets.
I feed it. Yeah. We have this really stupid saying, at least here in the South, I don't know where else it is. The daddy longleg, the Opiliones, is the world's deadliest spider. It just can't open its mouth enough to bite you, I guess.
Fun fact.
Or it's like fangs are too weak to pierce your skin. Fun fact, all lies. Yep. Not a single word is true.
They have no venom, and also they can very much penetrate your skin.
They're not spiders.
Yeah, they're also not spiders. Yeah, like all of it is completely wrong. Not spiders, can in fact break your skin, have no venom.
Mites. Like, they really don't care about us. No,
they don't. That's why they run away primarily as their first line of defense. You have to really antagonize them and give them no sense of retreat in order to get them to actually bite. And I've only seen them actually really do it like one time. And it was because they were in a plastic container and someone reached their arm in and like antagonized a bunch of them until eventually some of them started biting.
Here's the thing though, they don't have fangs.
Yeah, that's true. They have chelicerae. They have little pinchers.
Chelicerae are claw. Well, I mean, fangs are chelicerae, or at least in chelicerates.
They have chelicerae. How about that?
Yeah, they have little teeny tiny little claws, which I've seen like one good picture of online. At least last time I looked. Little itty bitty teeny tiny claws. But yeah, don't screw with them. They're just living their lives, vibing.
Oh, interestingly,
don't mess with them.
Opiliones are also the only arachnids that take solid food.
Yes. Which
also it means that they're the only arachnids that are frequently parasitized by endoparasites.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, good for them. Anyway, here we go.
Haven't gotten grants from the National Science Foundation in vain, that they haven't wasted.
I mean, look, if you were actually just caring about the grants, then hey, you got the grant. Who cares? But whatever.
Their whole life, that they haven't believed that the scientific community that they're so proud of hasn't been built.
I think I'm going to open a movie theater and hire Dr. Charles Jackson because he's doing a whole lot of projecting.
Is that the reason he's giving this lecture in a church and not a university?
Right.
A bunch of esteemed fellows. Is that possibly why? I wonder.
Yeah, instead it's whoever they could scrounge together to show up to church on Wednesday.
Right.
I don't actually know if this was given on a Wednesday. I'm just... Anyway.
No,
for 150 years. But they have. And that's hard to take.
As evidenced by the increasing amount of papers being published and the leaps and strides in medicine being made routinely while assuming evolution. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm sure all those immunologists and people developing vaccines are going to realize, oh my goodness, I wasted my life because Dr. Charles Jackson doesn't know what evolution is. Yeah.
It's hard to take. The books that you wrote were all wrong. The legend you are in the scientific community is a sham. It's hard to take.
I feel like he is real butthurt about like Richard Dawkins right now.
Right?
He's like, why does Richard Dawkins get to speak at universities and I don't?
The only university gig he can get is like Liberty University or PragerU or Loma Linda, and one of those isn't a university.
I mean, yeah, like if we're being generous, yeah, just one.
No, and Liberty University, aren't they accredited?
I honestly have no idea. I've never looked.
All right, guys, if you can find out whether or not Liberty University is accredited, because I think they are.
It could be. I have no idea. Maybe
look, I mean, there's a lot of really bad schools that are accredited, which makes it even funnier that creationists routinely get unaccredited degrees, despite the fact that there are so many really crappy accredited schools.
There are lots of places called institutions which are not universities.
Also true.
And they're not even really institutions. They're just, it's like a little, RV where a couple of dudes chill and have really bad political takes. That's, Anyway.
All right, here we go.
Endowed chairmanships, grants, all of that.
I'm sensing the butthurt right now.
All based on a hollow, untrue assumption.
I like how he says this as if grants weren't given out on the basis of actually getting results from your science that can,
Right.
actually do something to help. Because, like, that
Right.
grant proposals aren't just granted because some guy in, like, some office chair in like, a government building is like, well, we can't have any Christianity here, and this study looks like it might confirm evolution, so stamp. No. They're giving out on the basis of, like, hey, this study might actually do something like, progress research into infectious diseases or increase crop yield, something like that.
Right. Yeah. And you can not revoked per se, but you can like have your. It becomes more and more difficult to acquire grants from prestigious institutions if your research does not produce results.
Right?
If you start off and you're like, you're doing stuff, you're coming up with some things, and maybe NSF or whoever will throw you some money, some pocket change. But once you get to the point where you're like going a couple years, haven't gotten any results, you're still kind of doing the same stuff, like, they're less likely to give you money for that. If you don't believe me, ask like any researcher.
Yeah.
Because everybody's had like failures in their research, so.
Mm-hmm. Actually, failure is the most common result because, generally speaking, the chances of your hypothesis being wrong are higher a priori than they are of being right, because there's way more ways to be wrong than there are to be right. That's just how it is. All right, here we go.
These people are fighting for their lives.
No, careers at best, but not even that.
Secular people, a lot of times,
publish or perish.
all they have.
Yeah, the parish doesn't mean they execute you.
Oh, they literally get like put up against a brick wall. And they're
all
like,
right. All the press we haven't published in the last 2 years, report to the courtyard for the firing squad.
I mean, by that logic, like Richard Dawkins would already be gone. So.
Oh yeah. But then again, so would Dr. Charles Jackson, who, as far as I know, doesn't have any real publications to his name.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure, like the vast majority of researchers would be gone overnight.
Yeah.
So anyway,
is their reputations and their intellectual esteem, and I'm not saying all of them. I've met some very humble and cordial evolutionists. Some that I really like, and some I haven't met. I appreciated Stephen Jay Gould's honesty. I really, the guy who discovered the Spinosaurus.
Oh, you mean when you quote mined him and lied about what he believed? That Stephen Jay Gould?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Look, when you say you like someone, generally speaking, you don't misrepresent their views intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. You know what? I'm just gonna take a drink for that level of crazy dishonesty, which is not normal, an official drink trigger, but whatever, it's fine.
Oh, Paul Sereno. I've read his writing, seen him on TV. In another world, we could be best friends. I really...
Dude, you could be best friends anyway. It turns out that you don't have to agree with people about biology to be friends.
What? I mean, that's broadly true, but at the same time, I feel like if he found out, like, who Ed Jackson was, he'd be like, I don't really want to associate with you.
Well, okay, but that's
you do is like spreading misinformation.
But that's on Jackson's part of it, right? Like I'm there again with creationists I consider friends, right? And
sure. I mean, I've had yeah, exactly.
Like no, we don't agree on like biology or geology or astronomy, but like they're still like fun people to talk to and hang around with, and they're still nice to people, and they're kind, and like they concern themselves with like Fuzzle Rana. Look, Cindy is a nice woman. I like Rebecca from Bread of Life. I like Sal Cordova. These are all people who I consider to be great people with whom I have disagreements. I think they're extremely wrong on many things.
Sure.
But guess what? I don't base my... Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I'm wrong about things. I've been wrong about many things in the past. I will continue to find out that I'm wrong about things in the future. And I don't base my estimation of someone or how willing I am to spend time with them on a personal level just based on how much about science we agree on.
I mean, that alone, I guess, but I don't know. I don't typically associate with people who are like don't believe anything the consensus says, because I'm going to be like inching in the other direction if
Well,
they
for-
tell me that.
Okay, so for me, it depends on how likely I am to think that they are doing so dishonestly. So, like,
Okay.
I know that, like, Andrew Snelling is a liar. Right? There's no doubt in my mind that he knows he's
Right.
wrong. He knows many of the things he says are stupid beyond belief, and he contradicts himself almost every turn. I don't know that about, say, Cindy Lincoln. I sincerely believe that Cindy Lincoln is being extremely honest.
Sure.
And is ill-informed. If I started to change my mind about that, if I started to think that she honestly knew better and that this was all just an act, I wouldn't continue to be her friend. I would not continue to spend hours on the phone with Cindy to both check up on her and have little discussions about evolution and whatnot. I wouldn't have the time of day for her. But that is not what I think of any of the people who are young Earth creationists who I consider my friends. Whereas other ones, including some who aren't professionals, like, say, Otangelo Grasso, who seems incredibly intellectually dishonest. Yeah. And I don't even know if he's being dishonest in the sense of intentionally lying, but, like, does not care about the basics of logic. So, like, I don't care at that point. Like, whatever. I don't have time for you.
Didn't say it, but yeah, I think Sal Cordova's a nice guy too.
Yeah.
So.
Look, we kind of stand Sal Cordova here at the Dapper Dino channel. In fact, actually, I need to email both he and Rebecca, because I suggested that sometime we just hang out. You know, we don't have to be on air all the time.
You guys, you have fun with that.
I like hanging out with those two.
That was fine. Like, we were on somebody's channel, and like a bunch of us talked about like math and stuff, and I was like, that's fine. Bread of life is something else. Anyway,
I've always had I've had sometimes frustrating, but I've never had like antagonistic or things that make me angry in terms of my interactions with Bread of Life. But anyway, we don't have to agree on that either. Here we go.
Admire him, the way he talks and teaches, the way he loves college students and runs in marathons with them and takes them out in the desert to discover dinosaur fossils. He loves kids, college kids, and so do I. Some of the other philosophical things he's written, I just think he's a great guy, but we're enemies.
1 sec. Makes me think of the line from what is it, Happy Friends? Smiling Friends, where he's like, I love kids, Charlie, I love kids. That's what made me think of. Sorry.
Yeah, careful with how you say
that. In this debate, I have great respect. Oh, pray, because I may get a chance to debate Lawrence Krauss.
Not a biologist.
Did that happen?
I have no idea. I just want to point out that Lawrence Krauss has nothing to do with biology or evolution, so yeah, he's a cosmologist.
About, like, stars, though. If they talked about stars, Dr. Charles Jackson would get absolutely destroyed.
Oh yeah. Charles Jackson is like one step above raw Matt's and like Matt Powell's understanding of astronomy. The Air and Space Matt Powell, which is still one of the best things that's ever happened on Jackson Wheat's channel, is when Matt Powell decided to reveal that he thought that stars burned oxygen that they got from the air in space.
Technically, that was Godless Cranium's channel. I mirrored it.
You mirrored it. All right.
Yeah, but still, I was there.
Yeah.
The look on my face is timeless. Can't
you and Shannon Q both had the great expressions on your face. We're just like, what just happened? I mean, that's like a JM Truth the Flat Earther level of crazy.
Yeah, I really wasn't prepared for that one. You know.
Yeah. Oh, and Guptu says preemptive RIP for Bad Jackson going against Lawrence Krauss. Yeah, look. I have my criticisms for Lawrence Krauss, but when it comes to knowledge of science, in terms of the field in which he is an expert, yeah. No chance that came out with Bad Jackson having the better of that exchange. Anyway, here we go.
That would be really cool. I don't really respect him. I mean, he's incredibly.
What's up?
I don't see that they debated on YouTube. Like William Lane Craig comes up, of course, and a bunch of videos of Krauss in different debates, but I don't see.
Probably didn't happen then.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
his audience should have prayed.
Probably has better things to do.
It's just because his audience didn't pray hard enough.
Intelligent, but I got God. or God's got me. That's the way it's got to be. There was another one that I would like to debate who I do. Oh, yeah. Someone was asking me about would I debate Neil deGrasse Tyson. I have a huge amount of respect.
Like, do creationist debates,
Yeah.
though.
Weird.
He does like documentaries and the Hayden Planetarium and all that sort of stuff. And personally, I don't blame him. I think he wants to be like, nah, that's not for me. You guys have fun.
Oh, so there's a question as to which theropod I am. It's a Ceratosaurus. It comes up a lot. I should probably just start putting it in videos like randomly. I'm a Ceratosaurus. So here you go, Brainbug. All right, guys, we're gonna start wrapping up because we are getting to the 2-hour mark here. Jackson, what do you have coming up on your channel that we should know about?
The orangutan's tail.
Nice.
Which is one word, not two, and I will fight anyone who says it's two.
What, orangutan's tail?
Fisticuffs.
Sounds like two words to me.
Well, it's three, but the word orangutan, like the Brits do O or OURANG space UTAN.
You know why, right?
It's on site. If anybody spells it that way to me, it's on site.
You do realize that the etymology is actually a 2-word phrase that means span of the forest span, right?
Oh.
Okay. But
Do not.
That's the etymology.
Will not. We'll fight.
It is derived from a phrase and not a single word.
We'll fight.
Okay, fair enough.
Over
Do you have anything coming up sooner than that?
I'm hurt by that suggestion. But that may not be wrong. On Thursday, we may, in theory, defeat the Cenozoic. I think we can do it.
That's my plan. So, guys, I've been doing a history of the Earth, like going through all the geological periods with Jackson on his channel, and I think we might manage to make this Thursday, the next episode, the final episode before we jump into Wayne Barlow's, future evolution stuff.
Yes, I think we should be
Jackson did not sign up for that. I don't think we're going to do that.
I don't know what that is, so I apologize.
There's a whole bunch of authors who have done like speculative evolution of the future. It's just a joke that we're going to go into the future after we finish with the Cenozoic.
I will also fight because I've read stuff. So many people who write about future zoology are like Simon Conway Morris fanistas, and I'm like, no, we do not expect to find elephants on other planets or giant spiders. Stop it. Stop doing that. It's wrong.
We do expect to find crabs and snakes, though. The ultimate forms that evolution can provide.
Crocodiles.
Yeah, crocodiles are another one. Yeah, crocodiles, snakes, and crabs. Those will be all over the place.
Everyone who writes about like future zoology is like, it will look like things on Earth. No.
We're not talking alien zoology. We're talking future Earth zoology.
Oh, well, in that case, yeah, they will just, I don't know.
It'll just be new variations on what's already on Earth.
I guess I said future, but was thinking alien because I can't think. My brain is dead.
Well, Jackson, if you want to help with that, I do have a speculative evolution project that you could contribute to in order to make things not look like things on Earth.
Next Thursday, I am continuing with the 1967 Young Earth Creationist book, Did Man Get Here by Evolution or by Creation? It'll be part 2.
What's the answer to that question?
Considering they have lied substantially in the first chapter, I think the answer is evolution.
Fair enough. All right. Anything else?
Orangutan's Tail, our video, finishing the Cenozoic, and then not really. I don't usually plan in advance, so Here we are.
Well, let's see. So tomorrow I should be on Cheshire Vic's channel for Guns, Magic, and Steel, our D&D game where I play a dwarf artificer. Cheshire Vic plays a Tabaxi rogue. Erica from Gutsick Gibbon plays a imp rogue, different subclass though. Her fiance Luke plays a Goliath fighter. Benthoven from Kent with Bent plays a halfling druid, and TD Lane plays a kobold barbarian, while Maddie from Science Side Up runs the game as our GM. It'll be at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 7 Eastern, so tune in for that. It's a lot of fun. I do a silly voice. That's fun. Let's see. Then the 26th will be the next episode of the Speculative Evolution Project, think this is update like 8, and I'm still not even close to done with phase 3. It's gonna kill me. Then on the 28th, it looks like I'm gonna be finishing up The Prophet by Jack Chick with some guy from the Canary Island who's a lunatic. Then let's see, Tuesday the 31st should be Kent with Bent. Then the Wednesday the 1st should be episode 3 of Power Rangers Jungle Beasts on my Top Hats Off channel, where I have the GM for that game. Maddie plays our Blue Ranger, TD Lane plays our White Ranger, and we have a few other people, some of whom you may not know, some of whom you may. Then on the 2nd should be the 3rd and final episode of the Jewish Matt Powell about Yosef Mizrachi, who is basically just Jewish Matt Powell. At least as dumb, but he's not a Christian, he's a Jew. So, I also already got accused of being an alt-right guy for making that video by someone who basically had about only a third of his nouns were English, the rest of them were either Yiddish or Jew or Hebrew, because apparently that makes you more authentically Jewish, I guess, if you just don't use English nouns when you're speaking English. It was very amusing.
Right to me.
It was very amusing. I sent it to those of my fans and supporters whom I know to be Jewish. They all found it very amusing too. So that's the 3rd. Let's see. That's the 2nd. I have no idea what's going on the 4th, but the 7th should be yet another Kent with Bent. So there you go. That's about as far ahead as I want to look. Thank you guys very much for coming. Thank you very much to Fade to Grey for joining. Do remember, there is a link in the community tab for the Discord server. If for some reason it doesn't work, like maybe it's expired and I just don't know about it, send me a message. You can send it on Discord. You can send it on Twitter. Can email me, but I can't guarantee that I'll notice it as quickly on that platform. But yeah, I can make sure to get you a link. And guys, I hope to see you all on Wednesday for Guns, Magic, and Steel, as well as Thursday for my show at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, as well as Jackson's at 6
We're pushing
Pacific.
an hour back for once.
So 5 Pacific then.
We're pushing it an hour back, aren't we?
Oh, so 6 Pacific, so 9 Eastern, I guess. Yeah, there you go. You know what? Numbers, math, who cares?
It isn't real.
Brainbug says Brainbug for Yellow Ranger. I mean, look, this Ranger thing won't last forever. There will be other tabletop RPGs that I do and run and stream. So, there's always options. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you very much. Here is an outro thing that hopefully doesn't stutter, because hopefully OBS doesn't just hate me. Before Work in Wind, Cynically Skeptic, Denny5252, Ian Chen, John Ackerman, Landon Knoll, Iapetus, Mabbity Babbity, Sphincter of Doom, Star Runner, and The Venerable Bean. Without my channel members and patrons, this channel simply wouldn't exist as it does now. You certainly wouldn't be getting up to 3 videos a week. You'd be lucky to get 1. So, if you're interested and you can afford it, check out my Patreon link in the description below, or the Join the Channel button. Both of them get you access to the special patron and member-only Discord server, where I like to hang out. And at higher tiers, you can also get access to other things like your names in this credit, video requests, and more. No matter how much you pledge, you always get early access to my videos, and as of the time of this recording, that's about 10 different videos that you could have access to. If a monthly pledge isn't right for you, there are always other ways to support the channel. I have a merch store linked in the description. There's also an Amazon wishlist link there. And if none of that's right for you, and you just want to support the channel without spending any money, just liking these videos, commenting, and sharing them on social media goes a long way.